right, welcome to the Straight Red Card again after 4 years, 5 years. How long has it been?
Uh, Jackson's 6, and I don't think we did much of any recordings while he was born.
So anyhow, welcome to the Straight Red Card. We're going to start today's show by talking ever so briefly about the 7-0 romp.
The end.
It was a mass destruction of the Trinidad and Tobago. That would be how you'd say that, I believe. Trinidad and Tobago national team. I believe you could almost rate it as their B team or their C plus team for Trinidad and Tobago. It wouldn't have really mattered had it been an A team anyhow, but they're going through all kinds of issues in Trinidad and Tobago. But it was a romp, and there wasn't a whole lot to gain out of that game, Brett. I don't think.
What can you talk about? I mean, the one major point that I took from this game is that for once, the U.S. did not play down to their opponent's level.
Well, that's
I mean
true.
that used to be our MO. You know, we'd be contending with some of the top teams, but then we'd scrape a 1-0 win against Guatemala. You know.
Yeah. Well, and that especially happens when we're at Guatemala.
Sure.
We tend to play much more down to the opponent in those cases. But in this case, you know, those poor TNT kids looked totally outmatched. Half of them I didn't think even had clubs yet, or, you know, their domestic league had been shut down because of COVID. So they looked, you know, well out of it.
Or played in USL, and it's been done for how many months now?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's not like not like MLS where they have the infrastructure to continue, training and developing and moving forward.
Yeah, it was rough going. I mean, there were a few performances you could maybe point out, and the fact that it looks like maybe Berhalter isn't playing his stifling system, which really seems to kind of congest the players and take away their creativity. They in the past games, not recently. I think the last 3 he's kind of been more hands off. It really felt like the players were stifled and they just couldn't play freely. And then, of course, he was telling them to play brave out of the back. And that looked like, yeah, we were still going to play out of the back, but we weren't robotic. You know, there was some creativity out there. Granted, we were given a lot of space. So,
yeah, I mean, it's tough to take anything away from the game simply because we weren't challenged.
Yeah. But, you know, during the broadcast, it was mentioned by Stu, I believe, a couple times that, you know, some of these players were heading abroad, or Berhalter said he was getting a ton of calls for a bunch of these players. And of course, you know, we can confirm that Daryl DK is indeed headed to Barnsley.
Mm-hmm.
So that came out of that. Areola also, that's been confirmed by Stephen Goff.
MLS broadcasted as well, so it's official.
Yeah, it's official. It still hasn't come up on the official transfer wire, but that's because about 2 hours ago there were 1,001 transfers today, and then an hour ago there were 1,117, and the last I checked they were up to 1,322. So the paperwork is still going through the official wire. That's why it's not showing up, you know, anywhere officially through Transfer Market or any of the other places. But it is going to happen. It will happen, and we'll get into the transfer season later. But just to kind of finish up this game, I thought a couple bright points. I thought Turner was pretty decent with his feet when he was asked to be decent with his feet, and that is definitely not a strength of his.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, we scored a lot of goals. I know Lewis had a couple goals. I still don't think he's U.S. men's national team quality, as I don't think many of these players are. But it was nice to also see Sam Vines at left back have a pretty damn good game. Those were my bright spots.
Well, it was nice to see the confidence build up among the players. You mentioned Lewis maybe not necessarily being a contender for U.S. national team, but I mean, it's nice to see the depth there and the fact that he's confident enough to take on players or just get the touches on the ball that put him in dangerous positions.
Well, I heard some folks online today complain, why do we even, play this game? Well, frankly, we're lucky we played anybody at all because we're lucky it wasn't like a 50-year-old rec team we were forced to play because no one else was available. Because frankly, we've got COVID. That is something everyone's battling, and then you have all these travel bans, and it's hard to set up a game, and it's also not a official international break. Somebody was mentioning, well, how come these scrubs are playing? Well, we've got to play somebody.
Well, it's January camp. These scrubs,
Yes.
it's always MLS based. I absolutely hate that argument. It's dumb.
I know.
That's what the January camp is, so that you can get a look at various MLS players that may not necessarily get to see the playing field with other teams. But you know what? This was a scrub team we played against. There was a purpose playing against it because you want to build the confidence, you want to have a good solid showing, and broadcast that these are decent players that can still contend, or at least again add depth. Again, with Lewis, may not necessarily be a contender, but I mean he may be an option in case injuries or various things like that.
Well,
Never know.
Listen, we've got a shit ton of games coming up. This is what we've always called Camp Cupcake, right? Except this year, it's even more important than ever because we have the Olympics coming up and Olympic qualifying. We have Nations League games coming up. We've got qualifiers out the
Gold
butt
Cup.
rump. So yeah, we had to play these guys, and they better be ready to play. That's the kind of point of this because there's a lot of games and fixtures that we're going to have to play this year. And believe me, Pulisic's not going to play in all of them. He's going to probably not going to play in a number of them. Certainly, he may not participate in any of the Olympic qualifying. All our guys overseas that are at Juventus and Chelsea and all these big clubs, they're not going to be playing in the more meaningless, fixtures. They're going to be playing in the qualifying games, the games that matter.
And we know what we know with qualifying. It doesn't really matter with the the Olympic qualifying. It wouldn't even matter because teams don't have to release those players.
That's right.
So that's the other reason why this camp is important because you had national team brought up a bunch of players, especially. I think the starting lineup had 6 or 8 players that are Olympic qualified players.
Yeah, at least like that. Yeah,
just in the starting lineup.
Yeah, so that's why who showed up, and who played, because we have 3 times the fixtures as usual. So there's really going to almost have to be an A team, a B team, and even a C team for us this year. And this is kind of between the B and C team. We had guys there that annoy the hell out of us that, we're tired of seeing, like Roldan. I'm tired of seeing Christian Roldan.
We know what we get with them. I mean, again,
right, and that's fine. But
I will say though, I was upset seeing that he actually got onto the pitch. I felt like there were a bunch of other players that we could have seen that we haven't seen enough of or at all.
Yeah, I mean, he did this in an earlier friendly too. He brought in Cole Bassett and all. He didn't even play Cole Bassett. What's the point of bringing some of these kids in?
And this may be a little selfish on my part, but once we started getting up there in the goals, I would have appreciated seeing somebody like Long get subbed off because again we know what Long brings to the table. Yep. We know where he fits into the lineups, and why not bring in somebody like Pineda? Let's give him a little.
You're a Chicago Fire fan, so I get it. But I would have liked to have seen Pineda. I agree with you. Let's see some other guys play.
Mm-hmm.
We know what Long can do, and we know he's legitimately in a battle for that spot next to John Brooks, who's been playing amazingly in the Bundesliga this year. Wolfsburg is up to 3rd place now. They're going to be battling Leipzig for 2nd. And we'll see if anybody can catch Bayern. But yeah, we know some of these guys. We know they are who we think they are. The famous quote from a Vikings coach. And I just think it was nice to see Perea. And we didn't get enough Bello. I wanted to see more Bello.
Like to see Bello more, yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to see more. I know we talked about this privately, but I would like to see more of Tessman.
Oh, I was
I,
just so. Yeah, I agree. I'm a huge fan of Tessman. And
I enjoyed watching him. The limited time he had. I mean, not that he created a bunch of stuff, but he just seemed so cool with the ball, relaxed, calm, under pressure, and that's enticing when it comes to a midfielder. You know.
yeah, yeah, and I think there are some technical things that Tessman can still brush up on as we move forward, but
Sure.
he's a young player. He's came out of nowhere. Was almost going to kick for Clemson last year, be their kicker on the football team, and he chose soccer. And he went straight into the FC Dallas camp, and because of Pomacall's injuries and other various things happening at FC Dallas, was thrown almost straight into at least playing, games, but then starting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he has a bright future. I still have to ask myself why a guy like Keaton Parks continues to be left out.
Yeah, I
But
don't know about that one either.
I don't know.
In all honesty, that's somebody who I was thinking about whenever I was watching Tessman play. Very not necessarily similar playing styles, but just that calm and collect with the on the ball, especially under pressure.
Yeah.
So I saw a lot of similarities there, and I was like, I agree with you. I'm not sure why he's not, getting a little more love, but especially in these January camps.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, it might be a playing style thing for Berhalter. Who knows what the real reason is? But he's a solid kid, player. Who knows what would have happened had he stuck it out overseas? I don't know. But maybe we'll see him down the road. I was a little disappointed not to see him on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, there's really probably not much else to draw from the game. I'd say,
Turner's PK save, that was phenomenal.
Yep. I mean, that's the
only thing he was asked to do the entire game.
Exactly. And he pulled it off. And somehow, when that guy was running up to the ball, I knew it. I was like, he's going to save this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's going to save this.
And it happened. It's like, holy.
Yeah. It was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So why don't we move on to the next topic, which will be about the transfer season.